Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, welcome, welcome.
How are you, ladies?
Good.
We know that we are having one bit of a technical problem. We are trying to put the messages on the side. So we're going to start it while he works on that in the background. Just know that we're trying to get it on there.
Okay, gotcha.
And can everyone hear me okay?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. So this is Miss Arla, everyone. Arla's our special guest this evening. We've kind of we've known Arla for what, a couple of years now?
Yeah. At least probably a
Yeah,
couple of
she had a
years.
booth once, and then you know how the booths in Henrietta go. People like them, people don't, and then she sailed away, and we've stayed in contact. And she's hosted a few of our woo woos, at least, haven't you? A couple of them.
Mhm. Yep. I've been, let's see, one, two, three, I think.
Hmm.
I've been up there.
And Arla has a lot of unique things to talk about, and when she does host our woo woos, I believe it's been a plethora of things that you've been doing. I believe you've done a drum circle
Yeah.
and a couple of other things at this point, haven't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. One of them, I talked about the light code activation video that was given to me by an Arcturian. And I talked to them about that, and everybody got to see that. It's on my YouTube channel. It was just one of those things that, I'm understanding and connecting with the star people, and they're showing me things and giving me things to share. And that's how the light code activation video came about.
So, for those of us who are not aware fully of what star people are, is that something maybe we could start with? Our
Okay.
Tish, are you familiar with what star people are?
I don't think so. I don't think I am.
Okay, so I think that's a good place to start. To be completely honest,
Sounds good to me.
Well, star people, they're called different things. They are called aliens, they are called ETs. And different things. I was always taught they were star people, and so that's what I call them. They are from the star nations, which are a part of this universe as well.
I was just about to ask what a star nation was. That's a brand new term for me too.
Yeah, that's these are terms that some people use, other people are still stuck on using the term alien.
Okay,
And the alien has such a connotation to it that,
absolutely.
that really doesn't express who they are. A lot of people, have a fear of them as well, but they've been here on this earth for a very long time. And they are in different forms. Many of them will take on the human form. Some of them continue in a form that they show us that humans would recognize that these are star people. There are a group of them that I work with, and they have been coming, I guess, let's see, since 2020. I had worked with the Arcturians before back in the 90s and had done some communication with them. And then, I've always known about them. They've always been a part of my belief system and my world since I was a little girl. My grandma.
So,
talking
Arla,
to them. Hmm.
that's what I was going to ask you was how did you come to start to be taught about them or learn about them?
Um, my grandmother was very open, and she was instrumental in helping me to understand the Sasquatch people, or some people call them Bigfoot, Sabe. There are many, many things that they are called, but Sasquatch is kind of a uh, general thing. It's not a general term, but it is a general thing that a lot of people recognize. And our part of the country, they're mostly called Bigfoot. And it's interesting. I grew up in Henrietta, and as a little girl, I remember that people would call them woolly boogers.
Wow.
We never did. That was something that we did not do. My grandmother taught me about them after I had my first experience with a young male. And I was 6 years old. I was sitting on the ground at my grandmother's, playing with sticks and flowers and rocks, and I was making things out of them. And I heard somebody walk up. And I looked up expecting to see my grandmother, but it wasn't my grandmother. It was a young juvenile male.
And this was in Henrietta.
Actually, it was out by Colton, which isn't far from here,
Right.
if you know where that's at.
Yes and no. Yeah. What about you, Tish? Do you know where that's
Yeah.
at?
Yeah.
And so he watched me. I, looked at him for a little while, and then he turned around and walked off. Well, I jumped up, I went in, and I told my granny what I had seen, and I asked her, I said, "What was that, Granny?" And she asked me, what did I think it was? And so she let me think about it for a little while. And then she would talk with me about them. I still had a relationship going with them. As that young child, I was forever in the woods. Every chance I got, I would run off to the woods. I stayed in trouble because it was something my mother didn't necessarily want me to do, but it's where I wanted to be. And
So
my first,
your grandma was already aware of them.
yes,
Okay.
she had her own experiences with them. She grew up in Boston Mountains in Arkansas. And
Wow.
she had had her experiences herself.
So naturally, she was probably not surprised that you saw one too, huh?
No, not at all. Um, my mom never wanted
That's what I was
anything.
about to ask. How about your mom?
She never wanted anything to do with it.
Okay.
Growing up, she didn't want to talk about it. Now, we didn't talk about it in public. But,
Right.
we had family or very good friends that might talk about them. But my mom, she'd just go out of the room when anybody, from the time she was young.
You think it scared her?
Yeah, probably. And she had to spend a lot of time down on the river bottom as a young girl and a teenager, watching the watermelon patches and things. And so she would be off down there on the river where a lot of people talked about where they would be.
Wow.
And she just really didn't want anything to do with it. Um, And even after I began to speak in public about them, she still didn't
Wow.
have anything to do with it. But some of the younger family members who had had some experiences began to talk to her, and she got a little better about it. And the interesting thing is, my encounter that I consider my first encounter with them of beginning to understand who they were at 6, when I was 3, something happened. And one day my mom said, Arla, do you remember when we lived in this house and you were 3 and you were sitting on the bed? And I said, yeah, Mom, I remember that. And she said, how do you remember that? And I said, well, I remember you coming out of the closet and screaming, and Dad going in the kitchen and getting a butcher knife and running outside. And so what had happened was, Mom was in the closet getting clothes for the next day, and Dad was getting ready to take a bath. And I was talking to someone, but that wasn't unusual. I would talk to everything. So, me sitting and talking wasn't a big deal. But as I was talking, Mom stuck her head out of the closet to see who I was talking to. And she looked at the window and she screamed for Daddy. And she said, Arla's talking to a dirty, hairy man.
Wow.
And so Mom looked at me and she said, Arla, do you think that was a Bigfoot? And I said, well, Mom, what do you think? And she went, oh, I saw a Bigfoot.
Wow. Now, where was it in your room?
It was outside the house, looking through the window in my mom and dad's bedroom. I'm sitting on the bed,
Wow.
and the window was open. And so I'm just talking away to them. And, Mom, she said, dirty, hairy man. And I've heard that so much from people, especially when you see them up close, you get the man thing, because they do look somewhat human. And it was so funny. It was like she was so proud at that time. And this wasn't but just a few years before she passed. So she had made peace with it.
With it.
Yeah. And was excited to have her own
It makes you
encounter.
wonder, maybe, wonder what it was that made her not want to be as interested as you and your grandma, were with it.
Well, she never had an encounter with them or an experience. I did. They
Do
came
you
to me, they didn't come to her.
do you think it's because she wasn't as open-minded as you were?
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. For them to connect in that way, um, you're going to need open mind, and you're definitely going to need an open heart. And
I feel
so,
like that. I feel like that's how it is with most mystical beings. I feel
yes.
like if we were all like that about like the fairies and the dragons
Mhm.
and like all the mystical beings, I feel like more people would see them. My
Oh,
I do
opinion.
too.
yes, yes. That's for sure. And, with anything, and I interacted with fairies, with everything that was there. I've interacted with many of what people call cryptids.
Mhm.
I've never had a problem or ever felt threatened, but I was never taught to fear those things. My
Wow.
grandmother,
I have a funny story because I would always tell my kids like the little fairy mushrooms outside. Like I always told them, don't mess with the mushroom rings because those are the where the fairies danced, and that's where they like to play. Leave them alone. Don't mess with them. And so one day, Willow comes in the house and she's like, Mom, Wesley kicked over these mushrooms, and the fairies are going to be so mad. And right after that, Wesley comes running into the house and he literally just trips over his own feet and and bites his tongue. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to."
Aw.
And I was like, "See? That's what happens when you mess with the fairies. Don't do it again."
never being taught to fear something freed me to be able
Absolutely.
to explore anything. And I always tell people I was that little girl in bed when she heard a noise under her bed. She had to lean over and see who was under there making that noise.
Yeah, I was too. I had to know
Yeah.
Yeah.
whether I was afraid or whether I was curious. I had to know
Yes,
what it
me too.
was.
Me
So,
too.
do you believe that they have a purpose here? Um, are they here to warn us? Are they just kind of living beings just like us? Um, why do they hide? I guess is really what I'm asking.
They're not actually hiding. They
Okay.
are multidimensional.
Okay.
So they can be in any form that they choose to be. Their vibrations, of course, are higher than what most humans are. That creates a problem of seeing. And people say, why are their photos always so blurry? Well, a lot of that is a vibrational difference.
That
That
makes so
where,
much sense right now because they always are distorted.
yes,
And that's why I think a lot of people say, "Ah, that's not a real picture."
yes,
Because you
that's
can
true.
yeah, that's, interesting. So they're not hiding at all.
No, not
We just
really.
really need to believe. We need to raise our vibrations and believe in them to see them, and that's so sweet.
Yeah.
So do we believe that we have, um are they here as protectors? Are they giving us messages? Any of that kind of stuff?
Well, they're here because they chose to be. And
Okay.
we'll talk about in a little bit about what was happening even before the earth was birthed
Okay.
with them and others. Um, they are here by choice, but what they hope to do is to help us remember who we are. And if we remember who we are, we won't be trashing the earth. We won't be trashing the water. We won't be trashing each other.
Right.
We will remember that we are all related. There is no separation except the perceived separation that man has in his mind. There
Okay.
are no differences.
That's so wonderful of them to care about us like that. And here we are dismissing them right to the punch,
Yeah.
calling them bad and because most of the things that you watch on TV, they'll say, "Oh, it drugged me around the camp and it was really hostile." And I've seen the different ones where they say they've held them hostage and they had to escape, and you don't really ever hear anything positive about
Well,
them.
it's out there. You just have to look for it. It's out
But I
there.
think I think that's a lot of things that people don't understand too, though. Like
Yeah,
you get the negative before you get the positive on a lot of things.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of that's just simply fear based and
Hmm.
misunderstanding. You don't know what something is, and you hear all those stories that people talk about. I hear people say all the time, I ran in my house and they tried to get in my door. I
Yeah,
can guarantee you, if they wanted to get in your door,
they get
they would
in.
get in your door.
Wow.
That would not stop them if they wanted to catch you. If you were out in the woods and you felt like they were chasing you, if they wanted to catch you, they would catch you. I mean, you have no chance whatsoever. They've always been there. Even if you don't see them, the possibility is that they are there.
Now, is this worldwide?
Yes, it is. It is worldwide. The thing with them is that they choose where they will be. And sometimes they choose where they will be because of the person and
Oh,
who they are going to interact with or be connected to. I only live, as the crow flies, probably 45 miles from where I had that first encounter. And them being multidimensional, they don't have to travel in that human 3D way. They can be anywhere they want to be. But
At any
even,
time.
yeah, even as walking, 45 miles is nothing for them to do if they chose to do that way. The one thing they love this earth. They love this 3D life on the earth as the earth. And I tell people all the time who are afraid or who are dealing with what they think are demons, um, if we weren't here, this human expression wasn't here, there wouldn't be any demons on this earth. There wouldn't be any reason for them to be there. We create them and we give them life.
wow.
And those are things, they do not exist in my life. I will not say they do not exist in someone else's life,
Right.
because we give them life. We give them credibility as to being there. And when we understand that they don't have to be a part of our life, we can choose for them not to exist in our life. And, I have people say, well, these things are happening to me, and it has to be something like that. There are reasons that things happen to people. That's learning. And when we come into this life, we have made choices of what we want to experience and what we want to learn for our soul growth. And so anything that is here on this third dimensional life, we can experience that, whatever that is, as a learning.
That's so beautiful. You just really wouldn't think about things like that, until you put it in those perspective.
Well, we believe what we're taught most of the time. And I wasn't taught to fear. it was interesting. I was raised United Pentecostal, which is a pretty strict belief. I was not held in my family to be in all of those beliefs as far as clothing and other things. But I was always in church. My grandmother and grandfather were there every time the doors were open and were really involved in the church. And I never missed a church service at all. And I am so thankful growing up in that because I got to glimpse what people consider demons.
Right.
And I remember one time as I think I was 14, and I had gone to church camp, and they were going to be bringing a young man in to for them to have prayer, and they said to cast out demons. And we were told, do not get very close because if we cast the demon out of that young man, then it could get in you if you're not right. And I wanted to be on the front row. I wanted to see what was going on. I could not grasp that there was going to be a demon that was going to jump from body to body. It was just like, hey, I have to know about this. And so I remember that this young man had severe Down syndrome and had some other things. I believe now it was Tourette's from my memory of thinking how the young man acted. Of course, we
Right.
were we were told, well, the demon is out. Now he will have to heal. But then that young man was taken away and we didn't get to see him anymore.
Wow.
So did they believe what they were doing? I have to believe that they did,
Right.
that they believed that at that time that this, and we're talking a long time ago. I'm 76, so that would have been quite a while ago. um, but I just never I couldn't believe in so many things that they were teaching. And my grandmother, this was a different grandmother than taught me. And
That's what I was going to ask you. Is this
yeah,
the same
yeah,
grandma?
yeah, this was my paternal grandmother. I would say stuff to her like, I don't want to go to heaven. They'd have a revival and stuff, and they would be talking about going to heaven and stuff. And I'd say, I don't want to go to heaven. And she'd let me talk. And then eventually, too, she would say, well, why don't you want to go to heaven? And I said, because it's all gold and mansions and it doesn't have trees and animals and all these
You wanted the animals.
mansions and streets of gold and all this. I wanted my woods.
I
And
don't
Wow.
blame you.
so she didn't ever get upset with me or anything. And for the most part, that's how I was taught, that I could say things and then think them out. I was never told what to think by either sets of grandparents at all. Um, and I was very verbal about what I thought. And so, I didn't have a lot of dogma and things to let go of. I took it for what it was. I felt the love of this church, of
I
the
was about to say, it
people.
seems like both experiences had a positive influence uh, for you, I mean, just for your upbringing and who you are today.
Oh yeah. They that church was so loving. It was a small church. The pastor was a woman. Her husband had been a pastor of the church and he died, and she took over for him. The women in the church, I can still remember to this day where their pew was, where they were going to sit in church every time they came into the building. They were an extended family.
So I grew up in church. I'm a church girl. My great grandpa was the pastor of our church. Our church consisted of all of our family members, all of our followers, and so growing up in that, I can clearly state it is everything of who I am. I enjoyed it. Now, I and my sister were the youngest ones in this congregation, so we were sitting around and listening to the wise people talk all day. The after church service was probably my favorite part because everybody was drinking coffee and they were mingling. Now, church was church, but afterwards it was
Mhm.
the conversations that I hold those with me, and those are my memories. If I go back in memory, those are my favorite memories. So church does do something to you, and you hold on to it your whole life when you've had an enjoyable experience. Of course, I'm not speaking for everyone, but for me, we had church 3 4 times a week. I The church was in my backyard. My
Yeah,
grandpa was the pastor, so my grandma wrote our songs. We knew how to speak sermons, so I can visualize everything you're expressing, and I can definitely understand that feeling of unconditional love
yeah,
coming from everyone.
yeah, definitely. That's such an important part for so many people. And my life was balanced out. I had one grandmother who was teaching me about the things that I was loving experiencing in the woods. And I had another grandmother who was teaching me how to be a loving person and accepting of everybody. And that was such an important thing. I wasn't told to be that way. I was shown how that is through my grandparents.
That's
And
wonderful.
yeah, I was very lucky. It was never a problem that I was a girl. My paternal grandfather told me that I could be anything I wanted to be. If I wanted to be a ditch digger, I could be that, but I was to be the best ditch digger I could be. Not better than everybody else, but as good as I could be, or I could be the best cook,
I tell
so
that to my daughter too, but
yeah,
she just yeah, she doesn't get it, I don't think, yet, because she's still young, but
keep telling her.
yeah.
Keep telling her.
So, Arla, would you say that through these experiences, did now what do you like to refer to them as? I'm not sure if I don't want to use Sasquatch or Bigfoot. If those, I'd like to try to use the proper terms. What do you like to call them, or what do they like to be called?
Well, what I tell people, because this is a thing that a lot of people get really upset about, what
Okay.
they want to be called. And this
Oh,
is purely from many different individuals. So you are going to hear them called many things.
okay.
Most of the people, what they're trying to do is be respectful in what they're saying. And they're taking it to the place where this is what they've told me.
Okay.
They don't want to be called this, or they don't want to be called that. I have heard people say that they were told that they call themselves Aolin. I have heard people say that they were told they call themselves Mooman because they were connected to Lemuria. I've heard, there are indigenous names for them as well. They are all different.
Okay.
There is no correct term or incorrect term.
Okay.
It is purely a personal thing. And so they have a problem with Bigfoot.
I could see that. That's definitely insulting right off the bat.
Well, I have a Bigfoot, and it doesn't insult me for people to tell me I have a Bigfoot. But there's more to it than that. The reason that they were given that name when they really didn't know, what they were dealing with, was in the late 50s. I think it might have been early 60s. That Jerry Cruz had, I think, a logging business in California. And they were going in and just taking, logging as they used to log, just stripping everything down. And they were finding these huge barefoot prints around their equipment. And so he said the term, well, they're Bigfoot. And that everybody jumped on that at that time. And that's how they began to be called Bigfoot. So it wasn't a derogatory term when that term came into existence. It was just a description
Okay.
of what they were seeing. They saw these really big footprints. And so that term Bigfoot just started at that point. They're sometimes, I call them hairy people, and I call the kids the hairy kids. And, my one book is My Life with the Hairy People. I have had people tell me that's disrespectful. You shouldn't call people hairy. Well, they are hairy.
Right.
You have a lot of hair. Being hairy is not a bad thing. It is just how it is, but it is in man's mind that if you're hairy, you're dirty.
Hey, that reminds me of that movie, Harry and the Hendersons. That is one of my favorite movies, and I love that movie. I'm just saying, he is the best.
Well, they were on to something.
Right.
The last few minutes of that movie is exactly how it can happen, where they are just a part of the tree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Walk out. So there is actual truth in that of how things are.
Makes you wonder if the director himself was more aware and maybe kind of just put a little comedy twist on something.
Oh yeah.
That movie always made me think, always made me wonder, that was what started my interest in the actual Bigfoot and the mythology behind all of it, and my interest in it a long time ago when I was little.
Yeah. Well,
mine was definitely Unsolved Mysteries. It covered everything on Unsolved Mysteries. I mean, you got it all. I am taking notes. So from time to time, if I'm like spaced out, I'm just taking notes because I want to remember some of this. I mean, I know I've got it recorded, but there's something about me when I take notes, it kind of hits my brain waves in a different way.
It does.
So
So back to what I don't call them anything unless I'm talking to someone else.
okay.
They're my neighbors. That was the
Ah, I
thing
love
that
that.
my grandmother taught me. And she said they are our neighbors.
I
And
like that.
sometimes you talk to your neighbors, and sometimes you don't talk to your neighbors, but you're always respectful of
So
your
you just
neighbor.
find out who they are and just talk to them like that, right?
Exactly.
I
Um,
got you.
if I'm out in the woods and I hear them or whatever, I just holler out, "Hi, guys." And I even have an audio of one that I called, or actually told me his name was Rujusna. And I was
Ooh.
out in my tent, laying on my cot, and I hear him coming through the woods, and he was like a bulldozer. He was never quiet. You talk about stick snaps and other things people hear. Oh, this was like so much more than that. And one day he was coming. I heard him coming, and I just thought, I'm going to ask him what his name is. And he said, Rujusna. And I thought for a minute, and I thought, I can't forget that, and Rujusna. And so I got my phone and I recorded it on my phone. He said his name is Rujusna. And I'll have a story about him here in just a minute, too. But this one that I'm going to tell you about, the recording that I have laying on my cot in my tent. My dog Watto is with me, and I hear him coming up through the woods. So um, he gives me what I call a greeting grunt, which they will do if I'm out in the woods and they're around in this third dimensional. And I will get that. And so he gives me that. And immediately I just say, "Hi, guys," because there are two of them
Oh.
coming. And immediately after I say, "Hi, guys," he does this crazy, crazy howl that sounded like hello. And I just laughed at
Oh
him.
my goodness.
And there is a thing, a voice analysis called a spectrogram. And someone heard that audio and they asked me, could we do a spectrogram on that? And I said, sure. I said, I know who it was, but yeah, you can.
Right, right, for you.
And so he came back, the man did, and he said, yeah, that's who this was. This was a Sasquatch. There, that did not match any known human, animal, or anything.
Wow.
Wow.
And
So
so,
you were able, he was able to just come back baffled probably.
yeah, that I would have that personal interaction, with one. With Rujasna, that was in July when he told me what his name was. Now, through the years, I've done a lot of audio recording. They have never had a problem with me doing that, and the star people have no problem with me doing that as well. But I had recorded all night long, and I just stuck my recorder out and left it on. And so I went outside, I got it, I come back in, got my coffee, came to my room, kicked back in my recliner, and began to listen. And about 30 minutes, I think, into the recording, I hear someone say Rujusna. And I came up out of my chair and I went, I know that name. That's Rujusna. And then
Wow.
I sat back down and listened to the rest of that was going on. Um, Once again, I worked with a man who did spectrograms and things. And so there's quite a bit that goes on, and that is actually on my YouTube channel as well. Um, you hear Rujusna, and then you hear go slowly. Now, if you hear those two words together, that name and go slowly, with what I told you about Rujusna coming through the woods like a bulldozer,
Mm.
you know,
Wow.
you can put that together to say, okay. And then you hear after a little bit this really weird, all right, like that. And then you're hearing other things, knocks and different things, and there is other vocalizations in that as well. And then it's Al Caller is the one who's talking. He says we're going, and so that's pretty much the end of that conversation.
So
That
do we so when it comes to the, them using English, is this just something that they've acquired, or that you think that they wanted you to catch this in a recording to hear it later? Like, how does all that kind of work with the language?
they can speak any language they choose to
Okay.
speak. They understand any language. They go back before the earth, and all the languages of earth were ever brought to life.
Okay.
And so they already know those. They use English a lot with me.
Okay.
They like I said, they can speak any language they choose to speak. One interesting thing, I have a friend who was going out in the woods and setting. He had made a connection with some of the hairy people, and he was recording, and he was asking questions and getting answers from them. And what he did was he asked them a question one evening, and they answered him in a Cuban dialect that is not used very much. But this
Wow.
friend of mine is Cuban
Oh, wow.
and
Wow.
remembers that dialect. So, and people say, well, they've listened to us or they've listened to Native Americans and they've picked up the language. They
Right.
already had that
They already knew.
ability.
They're
Yeah.
supreme beings.
Yes, they are.
Mm.
That they are. But we can do all the things that they do as well. We have forgotten, and we are in a lower vibrational conscious state. And so those things we can't do until we raise our vibrational consciousness.
Makes sense.
What do you like to do to raise your vibrational consciousness?
Oh my gosh. There are so many things that do that people don't think.
What's your favorite?
Laughing.
Oh, I love
Oh,
that. I
Laugh
believe that.
Yes, laughing does raise your vibrations. People think, oh my gosh, I've got to go into this deep meditation and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. If what you do is through your heart, living through your heart, then it's easy for your vibrations to raise. Laughter, joy, compassion, love, being peace, all these things raise your vibrations. Now, you can meditate. I teach Zoom workshops as well
Well,
on.
when we get off here, I'm gonna make sure to get this information so I can, upload it to some of this stuff and people can find ways to support and
Okay.
connect with you outside of this video. Just so you know, I will make sure that when we get off here, I either get that on recording or we get that at the end. But one of the ways I just wanna make sure you're aware, I definitely wanna get your stuff so we can all support and connect with you after the recording is, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
But, living through the heart is a choice. You can make the choice to connect with your heart. And one of the workshops that I teach through living through the heart is to connect with every part of your body through that love. And it begins to open your thought processes, how you relate to your body, all your body parts. People don't think to thank their feet for helping them and helping this body to move and to do things. I mean, Jesus knew the value of the feet.
Right.
And those people of that time to wash another's feet was such a special thing to do. We don't, you can take your kneecaps or your elbows or your throat or anything. And when you immerse those things, this body that carries that soul of light that you are is love. It is this outward manifestation of the soul. Now, people can say, well, I don't think their soul looks very good, or maybe your soul's looking a little old, or something like that. But in seeing the beauty of this body, and you chose this body before you came in this time. And our bodies have so much to teach us.
I believe that.
I wrote a poem not too long ago, actually thanking my body. It was there's a couple of Facebook pages that I subscribe to for poetry, and it gives you writing prompts. And one of them was one of the writing prompts was "Thank your body." And so I actually wrote a poem thanking my body for various things.
That's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I used to work at the bank, I used to have a routine. Nowadays, the stores got me in a more, I'm still working, but I'm working in a different type of a time zone. It's not 5 o'clock on the dot, get up, go in. So that structure. But when I would go in, one of the first things that I would always say was thank you. I would always say thank you to my legs for getting me in the building, because I felt like I always feel like that's something that through my elders, they'll always say your legs get you everywhere, be thankful for your legs. So
Mhm.
I don't really kind of hit on the other parts of the body, so I probably need to start doing that one.
Yeah. And, that's a simple thing when you get into it. But what I lead a guided meditation.
Okay.
And so we go through that. Unlike some meditations that start above the body, we start with the feet
Okay.
because it is the feet that touch the earth mother and that grounds and anchors us. And so that's part of why I start with the feet and go up the whole body, even to the crown chakra. And as the crown opens up, and loving those parts of your body, they may not work as good as they did once, but I honor every part of my body and what it does for me. And I feel that love back from my body as well.
Well, I know that my grandma is listening tonight, and one of the things, without throwing her under the bus, that she deals with is her legs and her knees. So I'm just hoping through conversation with you that this reaches where it needs to with her mindset, and um, maybe she already does that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I was instantly thinking about my grandma when you phrased it that way.
Yeah.
My my next question for you is, do the hairy people and the star people, are they all of the same, or are they separate beings?
Um, they are their own. Um, Species is a word that science has put
Okay.
out there. Um, Actually, from my belief, every one on this earth is a star seed.
I
They,
believe that.
yeah, they came from somewhere else. The same as the Sasquatch people came from somewhere else. And so, for me, they are part of the Star Nation. They are a little different uh, because of the choice that they made to come here,
Okay.
because there are many here, very many. And from what I understand, Kashima, who is, I call him grandfather,
Okay.
and he is considered an ancient, but he is different than some of the other ancients because he is a liaison between star nations in this universe. He is a liaison with some hybrid star nation people, hybrid with this human expression.
Oh, okay.
Are and other universes as well. So there are those.
Are the starseed people somewhat similar to the hairy people, where you have to see in them and believe in them to see them, or do we see them every day? Is there physical evidence of their bodies? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yes, there some are showing you their bodies. Some are very human looking to begin with.
Okay.
The Nordics are very human looking. They mostly are here on the earth, and others as well. I don't think you can see him, but I have a painting of him. And then
Of
Sirius,
Nordic, you say of Nordic?
he is, there he is. You can
Is that
see
him
his
over there in
eyes.
the corner?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I keep looking right over there. I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know what that is or what's going on with that one," but
yeah.
very drawn. So, star people and the hairy people, I mean, would we say that they're coming from the same places to make us aware of, you know who we are and stuff like
Yes,
that? Okay.
yes. The star people have watched us, some of the star people have watched us genetically as this human. I call it an expression of the human existence.
Okay.
Um, this is this Earth Mother is a teaching place. It is where we come, however we come, and from wherever we come, where our souls come to learn and to grow.
Wow.
And they are a part of that. Um, a lot of the abductions, I've worked with a lot of people who felt like that they were abducted by someone from the Star Nation. And when they are getting into this and understanding, they realize that this really wasn't a threatening thing. It was because they didn't understand what was going on when this was happening, but that the star people were checking on us, checking our DNA, our body's evolution, because we have changed in many ways. So that's part of what they do. The ones that I'm working with here, they are working with the elements, and they are helping the Earth Mother in many ways as she grows and changes as well.
It's so beautiful. Now, there was a comment. My aunt made a comment. Now, Arla, I'm not real sure how many times you've met my daughter, Nevaeh, but we had a previous episode where we were telling ghost stories. It was kind of our very first episode because everybody's got a ghost story. Even if they don't, they know someone that does. So it was just kind of a way to engage. And we had spoken about my daughter always looking out the doors and now this turned into something quite different, but I think what my aunt was hitting at was maybe my daughter was seeing one of the hairy people outside the door, and she used to take off running into the woods. So I just wanted to tell my aunt that I see her comment, and I'm definitely acknowledging that that's a possibility here. But Miss Nevaeh would know. She knows what kind of person she is and what she was seeing and what she was dealing with. So uh, that would just be something for her to have to think about, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
I have met her a
I
couple of
thought
times
so.
and talked to her
I
as
thought
well.
so.
So, and that is a perfect segue into some of the things that are happening now. One of the places that they come to people first is in the dream time. The
Okay,
dream time is a safe time, and
that makes sense.
they do not create fear in that dream time unless the person is fearful already themselves. But the experiences that people have in the dream time with them is one of those things that helps that person then to begin to accept that possibility of actually seeing them and interacting with them on that human level.
Well,
Uh,
I wouldn't be surprised if Nevaeh was seeing them by no means.
yeah.
Because
Um,
she's been very unique from the time that she was inside of me.
yeah.
I was a young mother and shouldn't have been having children, and I could not fight the feeling of unconditional love while carrying her. I was I'll still say it today, the happiest I have ever been in my life was when I was carrying Nevaeh. And so she came out that way. So I would not be surprised in the slightest if Nevaeh had her own interactions with the hairy people. Maybe she just doesn't choose to talk about it, you know?
That's probably true.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Now, you
and
said a word earlier, and I'm trying to revisit. I've been taking notes. You said a word earlier, and I'm blanking on it now. I've been writing things down, but I really wanted to know about it. So when it does, oh, the greeting grunt. before we get past the hairy people on the greeting grunt, is that was you saying basically that was their way of saying hello and hi? I see you, I acknowledge you.
Yes, that's
Okay.
they will do that when they're around if I don't see them or realize that they're there. And I don't go to the woods to look for them. If I go to the woods, it's because I love to go to the woods.
Ah,
And if they're there, that's okay. And if they're not, that's okay. So it's not about for me is I've got to go out there and see them. I go back to what my grandmother said. There are neighbors. And
right.
They
sometimes you
just
see
happen to
them.
share your space.
Yes, they do.
I love that.
And another thing, there are people who are now remembering that they did have a relationship with them at one time when they were younger.
I bet we all did.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like too.
Do
I've
do
always felt
you?
like that. Hmm.
Yeah, I do too. And I was a bit like you, Arla. My grandma had to make me come in. I was
Yes.
running around just I mean, I wasn't really up to nothing in particular. I was just running through the woods and I loved it. I mean, still to this day, as a grown woman, I would climb a tree.
Yes.
'Cause,
Yeah.
it just makes you feel good. Now, I'm not sure if you can see the picture that, this is a picture you had sent me at some time ago, and I used it as our backdrop. Can you see the image of the hairy people there?
Yeah. That's indigo.
That's indigo. Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you about was this actually indigo? Because I named it that through a thing on the broadcast here for the episode or
Yeah.
something, and I wanted to make sure that I was acknowledging the right hairy, people with the indigo.
Yeah. This is indigo. This was when he was quite a bit younger. And this uh, painting was done because of a picture I took that he was in. There was an artist, I guess it was in probably 2010 or 2011, and he saw the photo. And he did paintings of people like a forensic artist. They told him what they saw, and he was able to take that
Okay.
and bring that to life through this painting. And he would also ask me, okay, what about this area? And he would do one and then he would send it to me and he'd say, does this look right? And if there was something that didn't look exactly right, I would tell him. And so he did this from the photo that I had and me talking to him. Indigo and I have had a very close relationship since he was little.
Ah,
And he had a close relationship with my dog, Watto,
oh,
who was a bull mastiff. They loved each other. I've got story after story of them, doing things. And he now, Indigo, is a young male
okay.
and he travels with me.
Oh,
When I go places, he will be there before I get there. And he will leave something physical so that for sure he's there. Now, I don't have to have that. It's just something that he does with me. I was in British Columbia earlier this year visiting some friends, and it was interesting that on the flight out, uh, my name was called, and it was in a deeper voice, but one that I recognized, and immediately it was Indigo, and he said my name. He
Oh,
has never said my name until then. Well, my friends were concerned about some tree that was leaning over the outhouse that was going to be by the cabin where I was going to sleep. Now, I say outhouse. This had stained glass windows in it. So it was a very nice outhouse. And Sue had said something to Brian, and they call me Ma,
okay.
that, Ma, what would happen if she was in there and that tree went ahead and fell down? She would be hurt. And he was like, well, say something to Indigo or something. And so, Sue just said, can we have help, basically. And they went out there. I think it was the day before I got there, and that tree was down. If that tree had fallen in the normal way, it would have ended up on top and taking the roof off of that outhouse. But it was laying down, pushed up against the side of the outhouse, which
Wow.
underneath the overhang of the roof,
He
just
was looking out.
there. So I had said something to him, and he told me, he said, my energy is still in the tree. And so I walked over to the tree and put my hands on it, and I could feel that vibration. So he's kind of like my caretaker, I guess.
Aw.
And it's funny, when I moved back to the cabin after a wreck that Matthew and I were in, and he was still in the fifth wheel. I came back to my cabin when I could physically stay in my cabin, which had no running water. Um, and so Matthew came up one day, and when he got ready to leave, Indigo whistled. And he would do that with me uh, before Matthew and I got together and I lived alone. He would come by of an evening and he would whistle. And I would know, well, he's out there. And so that evening, when Matthew was leaving, Indigo whistled. And Matthew said to him, okay, buddy, I'm going. You watch over her. Now, when I
Aw.
come back, I'll take care of her. And so they have this deal that if I'm not going somewhere, Indigo for sure lets him know that.
That's wonderful.
So these are the stories that are out there now.
Okay.
These stories there are groups on Facebook that are like this. More and more people are talking about this. One of the documentaries I did, Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, it's about people's experiences with them. And so there's a lot that's going on to help people understand these aren't monsters that are out there. You just you don't understand their nature. And one of the stories I tell that help people understand, how this, oh, it was a bad thing, happens. I was at a camp out with some people down in the Comanche Mountains, and we were sitting around the fire talking. There was a young man there that I had talked to during the day. He had told me he didn't know what they were. He didn't know for sure if they would hurt him or not. And so that evening, as I do a lot of times, sitting around the fire, I'll get up from the fire and go walking. And I started down the road. It's just a little one lane road. And he said, Miss Arla, can I go with you? And I said, sure, come on. So we were walking down this road, and I didn't have a flashlight. He did have a flashlight, but there was enough of a moon that you could see the sandy road that we were walking on. A lot of trees, a lot of cedar on the sides of the road. And we hear heavy bipedal footsteps coming towards us. And it continues to come closer and closer and closer and stops inside the tree line pretty close to where we were. Now, we couldn't see him, but you could feel him.
Wow.
And the young man grabbed my arm and he said, are you afraid? And I said, no, I'm not afraid. I said, are you afraid? And he grabbed my arm with his other hand and was literally hanging on to me. And he said, yes, I don't know what he's going to do to me. And so I tried to talk with the young man, but he just couldn't get past that fear. He had already said, I don't know, they might hurt me. And so I said, let's just go back to the fire. So in this story, if you took the two accounts of the people who experienced this, mine would be, we're walking down this sandy road. We hear heavy bipedal footsteps coming towards us. He gets close and stops right inside the tree line. Then his is, we're walking down this road and he's coming towards us. And oh my gosh, I didn't know what he was going to do to me. Two totally different stories.
Right.
Those stories came about because he was already unsure what they were. He was watching lots of videos on YouTube. And so that's what was in his mind. So when he had this encounter, it went to that fear of not knowing.
That makes sense.
I didn't have a fear. So it was just an experience for me. And that's what happens with them. And it's the same for everything. Cryptids like the dog man, people are so afraid of them because humanity has been fed that they're evil. I mean, you've got Little Red Riding Hood and several other things that portray this type of being as being evil.
Right.
And many other things. I was speaking in Alabama earlier this year, and one of the speakers, someone asked them a question about the little people. And she asked him, she said, do you believe that the little people are evil? And he said, oh, yes, they're bad. You don't want to mess with them. Well, that's not my experience at all.
Wow. So I bet when you go to these big things and people's talking about them and stuff, you probably have to keep some of this to yourself because you have a whole different experience with these things than they do, it sounds like.
Yes, I do.
I love that you have such a positive something positive to say about it because, you know, I think in my own mind, maybe I would be a little scared, but would it be because I don't know? But, you know, just even being educated on it, I even feel more open to receive and maybe just want to look a little bit more into the woods than what I really normally do, you know, in a different perspective, of course.
Yeah.
Now,
I
what is
think
the go ahead.
I think that she makes a good point on that, and I think that like me, I would probably get mauled by a bear because I would like to believe that it's not
Not
mean. Like I would walk
Uh,
right up to it, and be like, "I want to pet you."
yeah,
so you're the people you're the
So
people at the national park with the buffaloes, huh?
yeah.
right, yeah. So
No,
see, because like she's, because what I'm getting from what she's saying is like, it's what you're thinking is what you're going to experience, kind of thing.
yeah,
Like, like you can either have a good experience based on how you're perceiving it. And so me, I'm going to walk up to a bear and be like, "Oh, you're a big kitty. Let me pet you."
well,
you know.
here recently, I I honor all of those, the bear, the mountain lions, everything else that are in the woods. And no, I don't want to have an interaction
Right.
with them.
We'll call
And
Tish the
I'm
next
just saying
time.
that,
that's just what I use as an example
But I
because that
get
was
what you're
just what I
saying.
could
I
think of.
I do because I'm the same way. We have deer here in Eureka Springs that they're not like Oklahoma deer. These deer are so used to people that they will walk right up. And I catch myself just wanting to pet.
that,
And you know, one of the things we're not supposed to do is we're definitely not supposed to feed them food. But it's because they're so familiar seeing us all the time that it's hard to refuse reaching out to touch the deer, you know, because they're right there. So I get it. I get it.
yeah,
Now, what is the term? And if I'm saying this incorrectly, um, what is the term artisans? Or am I saying that incorrectly? Artarians?
Arturians,
There you go.
Arturians.
What
Arturians.
is that?
Arturians are a higher vibrational being. They don't need chips to travel. They a lot of times only appear as light body.
Okay.
They have taken form sometimes, but they're very high vibrational uh, beings, and they are very compassionate, very caring, and care very much that as a human that we get it. We understand who we are. And the Arcturian, Ishmael, and they don't have to have names. I've
Okay.
been told that uh, basically that we do not have to have names, but we understand that that is something that you do.
Right.
And so it's just an identification for us primarily. They are, I've heard people say they are from Arcturus. Um, and I've heard people say that they just come from the light.
Okay.
I understand that they are very high vibrational light beings. And the majority of the times when I see them, they are in light form. And when Ishmael brought the light codes that I videoed, he was light when he was doing that. And he brought those light codes. And of
Now, what
course,
is a light code? If for those of us who aren't, you know, in tune with what that term is. Now, I had to look it up, but my version would I would much rather hear you explain what a light code is.
Well, a light code is light. And what the code part of it does, it connects with your higher self. It opens up things in you. There can be downloads of information to you. It's like they're all keys to open something, to help
Okay.
you understand and to raise your vibrations. But they also help to raise the vibrational consciousness of humanity. And they are personal when you watch that video, and the video's only a minute and 27 seconds. Um, and you connect with that, you can get an immediate understanding of something. But it's like people talk about the Akashic records that
Yes.
hold all the records. These are like keys that open up those records.
You've met Ahava. Me and Ahava and Nevaeh have, I'm sure she's went through at this point because this was about 5 or 6 years ago. But we started the Akashic records and we were getting to the key. I've only just seen the key on the table, but I've never actually went forward and picked up the key and went down through that whole experience. So I'm definitely like linking all this stuff together now. It definitely makes sense. Are the light codes something you can physically see? Do you draw them, feel them, see them,
Yep.
catch them? Like how do you see a light code?
Well, light codes come in all forms. The
Okay.
ones that I was given to share came in light through quantum energy.
Okay.
And in quantum energy, connects into plasma. And plasma can become solid or physical for us to see that. Now, quantum energy, in the video, you will see it arc and you will see the codes become colors. And those are the energies of that quantum, that entanglement that connects you to those codes to open up. Now, light language
I
is
was about to
another.
say, I was about to just ask you about the light language because I've kind of read a little bit about that. So is that the same thing as a light code?
Yes, in a different form.
Okay.
And with a light language as well, each person will understand something differently
Okay.
or receive something differently. A lot of people I've heard liken it to speaking in tongues.
I was just gonna ask you after you I was just gonna say, because see, where we grew up, it was non-denominational, but everybody spoke in tongue.
Yes.
Now, I understood, but I can't tell you right now how I understood. My grandma, who's also listening tonight, she used to speak in tongue. Everyone spoke in tongue and
Mhm.
everyone understood. But, to outsiders, they were spooked. They were scary. So, do you believe that they both carry the same kind of energy or the same kind of meaning to some sense?
Not exactly.
Okay.
They're close.
Okay.
The thing with speaking in tongues, and I can speak personally through this, is that there is a euphoria within speaking in tongues that comes with the light language. It's coming straight from the heart. Now, when you are seeking the tongues, you're in a conversation with God or Jesus in
Okay.
bringing that. What
Okay.
the light language is universal.
I see. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I had a vendor a couple months ago. Now she's no longer with me. Just because herself, she people just weren't really understanding your product. So obviously, we encourage you to move on when that happens.
Yeah.
But we always stay connected, just like me and you. And she spoke to me in a light language, and I've actually never heard it before, but I understood it, and it had its own emotion with it. So
Mhm.
that was my very first encounter with the light language. Is this something you speak to, Arla?
Oh, yes.
I could
I
see that.
speak it, I sing it, I dance it, I sign it. Um, it is the language of the heart, and not the
Ah,
heart as we know the heart. The heart is the center of the seed of the infinite light being that we are. So that is more love than as a human understands love. But we feel the depths of love greatly. Mothers, usually when they see their baby the first time, the love that just overcomes them. And for your children, that love is very strong. And the love that I'm talking about is much more than that. And Kashima calls that the knowing,
the knowing.
in that you know exactly who you are, that seed at the center of the infinite light that you are. And that's where I'm coming from in talking about this. And through the light language, um, the first time I spoke light language, I knew it wasn't tongues.
Okay.
That I knew. At that point, I wasn't sure what it was. And it was interesting when I look back. I was 12, and there was a word of knowledge given about me from someone who had spoken tongues and then translated that I was going to be an evangelist, and I was going to travel and talk to people. And, you can take that and say, well, that's not what they meant. You're not doing that,
Right.
but I am.
I was about to say, but you are.
Yeah.
You are. Now, would you say that these things that we're talking about this evening, is this the life that you've always lived your whole life? Did you back out of it and kind of get into human thinking and then kind of back to it, or have you always been consistent with this as you learn and grow?
I've been pretty consistent. I didn't talk a lot about it with other people, but I was still all through my life doing things. And, my husband at the time, because of some of the things I did, said that he carried a silver bullet in his pocket in case I got out of hand.
Oh my goodness.
I thought it was funny. A lot of people have said, I don't think I would have thought that was funny, but it was to me. It was just the measure of him trying to accept the things I said and did. And, um, when my kids were growing up, I wasn't extremely active. We still spent a lot of time camping and doing things.
So you were still
They were
one
there.
toe in the water with it still.
Yeah, yeah, they were there. So it's been a part of my life this time. actively, I guess, in
And are
my
when you're
life.
when you have referred this time a few times, so are we saying there's an undertone of reincarnation? Is that what we're getting at when you say that, or do you mean something different when you say
No,
this time?
um, there is no death. Death is only a door that opens to birth,
Okay.
and we come back if we choose. So, yes, you could say it's reincarnation. We're living different lives. We call them past lives. But if you're looking at quantum energy says that all these lives are going on simultaneously.
Wow.
So that's another thing that will blow your mind when you really start thinking about that. But we reference it as past lives, the
Okay.
past lives that I've had. And so I we are infinite.
What
It's
would make us want to come back? Just to be able to experience it again or to learn something new, or like what do you think makes us want to come back when you were saying, if we choose?
well, this earth was birthed as a place for souls to learn.
Okay.
And depending on what that soul wants to learn, they could choose to come back uh, to this earth and experience this life as a human many times if they choose to.
Okay.
This is not like a forced thing. Oh, you've got to do this now till you get everything right. We're not talking about striving for perfection, as society says perfection is. We are growing every time we come and have this experience. We grow. That soul grows and opens up to that understanding of who we are.
Now I'm
And
going to ask that question that I think a lot of people do. Does choosing to commit suicide put any kind of challenges on this reincarnation or being able to come back or choosing to come back? Is there anything different with it? Someone that dies naturally versus someone that dies
no,
committing suicide?
no,
Okay.
it's a choice. Um, we look at things that happen on the earth, and I'll just take a situation. Um, Someone does something, victimizes someone else. And when that happens, immediately compassion rises for that person or persons who have been victimized. And so that is one effect of that thing that happens like that, is that compassion, love, caring just begins to grow, and that helps everything. It helps humanity because that energy goes out into our world. But what we don't do sometimes is to look at that person that created these victims. That person's choice in coming into this life may have been about learning how that affects the person that does this, those that are affected by this. And it is when we are living through our heart and we can understand that they are a victim themselves. They themselves have made themselves a victim as well. And people immediately hate them. You did this. I hate you. You need to have all this stuff done to you. This is not right. And yes, in our society, it is not right. And you will pay something for this because there is a responsibility of how this earth life is to be lived.
Right.
But that soul learns too. And it is when you can feel compassion for not only what they have done, but what they have done to themselves.
Right. And this would be when we say victimized people, this would also go as murderers. And, I could keep going into ugly terms, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It could be anything. It could be abuse. It could be a murder. There are so many scenarios that
Right.
could be attached to this. And that's an important part of living through your heart is that you look at this in a broader sense than what you're seeing it as. And I'm not saying that it is excused. I'm not
Right.
saying that at all. I'm just saying that we come to that place where we can have compassion for the person who created this and they made themselves a victim as well because they are drawing in this act all of those other feelings.
Frederick, do you have any questions? You've been very quiet this evening. Tish did want me to mention that she got sick and she had to get off and she apologizes, Arla, but
That's
she
okay.
enjoyed meeting you.
It was wonderful to have her.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's a smart little cookie, let me tell you. There's a lot of going on in that brain up there. But Frederick, did you have any questions for Arla as we're speaking?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure, though.
Yeah. Well, so my next question is, um, as we go through the humdrums of our going to work, paying our bills, what would you suggest so we can connect to our hearts and do what we're supposed to be doing? What are the things that we might start with, even if it's just a little bit every day, just to get there? Even if it's just something I started in the morning, just to start getting to this point.
Gratitude is very important. A lot of things now seem so chaotic.
Yes.
And we live these lives that we have to be here and then we have to be there and we have to do this. And we feel pressure from having to do that. And then the pressure and feeling all the energy that everybody else is feeling. And so for me, the first thing I do when I wake up is I go to my heart and I feel that love that's there inside me. And I send that love out to everything, not to just those that I would think were worthy, but to everything, to the earth, to the waters, to the animals, to everything, children, elders, people, every scenario that you can think of. I'm going to feel that love in myself and I'm going to send that love out because we are love. At the
Right.
base of who we are love. And that is something that we can remember that we are that love, we are that light. And when you are living through your heart, You see the world in a much easier way. You still see the chaos, you see the things happening, but there is a peace in you. And that is where you stand in the chaos and you are still peace. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I've done this for years.
Right.
Part of me. It's who I am. But even I have times when things are going on that I might get out of bed and forget to do that. And I mean, I don't have to take very many steps. And I'm like, oh, and I just stop and
Right.
I just go within myself. I tell myself, I love you. I look in the mirror and I say, I love you. We don't have to like anybody, but we love. And when we live through our heart, that love is extended out to everyone, regardless of who they are or what they do. I can't pick and choose. If I'm living through my heart, I can't say, well, I'm going to love you, but I'm not going to love you.
Right.
I may not like what you do and what you stand for, but I'm going to send you love as well, love and peace. When you have those two things, joy pops up. And then you've got that joy in your life, gratitude, compassion, all of those things, kindness, they grow. And people see that about you. And
Well,
that's
I felt at the moment I was walking on upon my store the day I met you. I felt you before I walked in. And my vendor Brandy said, "Oh, I was just about to call you. You need to meet Arla." And then of course you had the famous crystal skull, which you can choose to talk about or not talk about, but
he's
that
back
was
there. There he is.
yeah. Yeah, so maybe enlighten us a little bit about your crystal skull there. Does he
Oh
have a
my
name?
goodness. Um, there. Well, he's so heavy. Let me see if I can. I have a few skulls up here,
Okay.
and I am not sure how well.
You see that, Frederick?
Yes, it's coming through well.
Yeah,
Coming through very
and you can see this is an actual crystal point.
Yeah. Is that clear quartz?
Yes, it's
Okay.
rainbow because it has the fractures and several things that are there inside it. Um, he is Miko Gadan,
Okay.
and he is the physical representation of Miko Gadan. And he is one of the long head uh, shamans of the Mounds people. And the shamans of the Mounds people were star people.
Okay. And I think I'm sure I've stumbled across a documentary or two on the Mounds people, but I
Mhm.
don't know enough to be honest with you. But I do know that uh, that crystal skull that day, you definitely cannot ignore what you felt from it. Even excusing the fact that it's a clear quartz because I love clear quartz, but you definitely knew that there was something there. You just couldn't really explain it. And really, I didn't really want it to be explained. I just accepted what I was feeling
Yeah.
from it. Uh, and then obviously I felt you. So it was a very bonus packed walk in for me. I was just completely blown away when I walked in the store that day because I could feel you both. And then your husband was there with his cool tattoo.
Yeah, he is something else.
Yeah, you know what? I had a really good time the first time I met you guys. That's the only time I feel like I have ever gotten to sit down and speak with you. But you also do drums. You make your
I
own
do.
drums.
I teach people to birth their own drum, um,
Ooh.
and um, and do drum circles and travel and do that as well. And I speak. I travel and speak. I've spoke at conferences from all over the United States, from coast to coast, and up into British Columbia.
Now
Uh,
I found you through you coming in the store, but by chance you were raised in the Henrietta location.
yes, I
So how
was.
do other people find you? Just from other people's videos and the content that you have out there?
Well, I have, of course, my YouTube page. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on any other media besides YouTube and Facebook. Right now,
Okay.
that's about what I can
That's enough,
handle.
girl. That's all I'm on right now. I don't know that I could handle
Yeah,
anymore. My
yeah,
goodness. Those enough. Those are enough to me, and there's enough people on both those platforms
yeah,
that I think that that's a safe place to upload.
yeah.
But I do wanna make sure, before we get off here that I get that information, and then I'll link it so people can, because I'm assuming you have the light codes, those videos on your
My
YouTube.
YouTube, yep.
Okay.
And it's at Arla Williams 8266, I think. Or you can put Arla Williams in a search in YouTube
It'll bring it
and
up.
be prepared. It's got a lot of interviews I've done over the years for different podcasts and things.
Yeah, and my thing is I didn't wanna question you to death, but you also feel the need to say, if you're gonna ask a question, make sure it's a purposeful question. So I've truly been trying to ask questions. I know that for people that don't understand some of the things that we're talking about, I'm merely, getting into this myself because I was raised in church and I didn't believe in these kind of things. But my mom always did. And then when my mother passed, it was one of those things I chose to go ahead and start opening my mind. So I am constantly learning these terms, constantly learning, what the star people and different things are.
Yeah,
So that's probably the most rewarding part about opening the store was getting to meet people like you and to constantly keep learning and applying it to myself and being
yeah,
able to benefit and then me being able to share you with everyone so
yeah,
they're more aware of what's
yeah,
going on and
yeah.
things. Now, before we kind of shift into closing, is there anything that you would like to share uh, yourself here that just maybe it's your own little Arla message or just something that, we can take with us and apply to our own selves?
One of the things that I usually say, I don't every time, but I usually say at the end of a video or anything um, that I'm making is to be kind and to be kind to yourself because we forget to be kind to ourselves.
We certainly do.
We are very adept at not talking very nicely to ourselves. And that's hard on our vibrational energy, hard on our heart too.
It is.
And another thing that I always say if I'm speaking at a conference is you don't have to believe anything I say. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I'm sharing my experiences. And the only thing that I ask is that you don't just throw it out,
Right.
file it away somewhere. And if at some point you have an experience and or someone that you trust has an experience, you can go back and look at that and see if it helps you in that. And that's one of the things that people do. They hear somebody speaking and immediately, oh, I don't believe that,
Right.
you know. And and that's fine. It doesn't bother me at all for people not to believe anything I say. And so just no matter who you're listening to, don't just immediately throw stuff out because at this time it's not what you believe. Just file it away. Because from my understanding over 76 years, you're going to change your mind
Right.
many, many, many times.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. From what I feel like I understand from a lot of this is the things that we're fearing. There's really no need to be fearing them, because here we are. We're talking about the hairy people. We've even brought up aliens and other type of things. But I think the most thing is a lot of us we all instantly fear them, and it doesn't appear that that's really the case. Went through talking through you at all. They're not to be feared. They're really here to help.
yeah. And, everyone has to work through their fear. If you are trying to connect with some of the Sasquatch people and you go out and you feel something and it's making you feel uncomfortable, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, why you're there, what you're doing, like you would anyone
Right.
that
Because they're your neighbors.
yeah, you would want to know something about. And if that doesn't help you to get over your fear, just leave. Don't continue to put yourself in that fear. Turn around, leave, and come back again.
Now with the hairy people, um, they could just be outside my bedroom window, couldn't they?
Oh, yeah, they could be in your house.
I was
They,
just about to ask. In your
they,
house, on your porch.
they could be anywhere they choose to be.
Okay.
I we have here a lot of interaction with the hairy kids, and I do pretty much wherever I go because I love the kids. I just love them. It's that mother grandmother thing
Right.
going on, and they are very good tricksters. They love to play tricks on me. I am such an easy mark. They have so much fun with me, and in that, I have fun with them
Right.
as well.
Now I know that a mutual acquaintance of ours is what I'm going to say. One of the things that she always says that when she's around you, there's something that physically appears in some kind of a synchronicity, and she always mentions that the heart rocks will kind of appear and stuff like that. Now, is what would those types of things be? What's manifesting these rocks that are shaped in hearts?
Well, it's not just rocks. It could be
Okay.
anything. I I have hearts in my kitchen when I'm cooking something that I'm caring about. I could crack an egg in a skillet and it would end up a heart. I
Okay.
could find a cracker crumb on my cabinet and it would be a heart. In those times when those things happen, I have been thinking, I love this, or Matthew's going to love this so much because he loves eating this,
Right.
or this makes me think of my grandmother in the kitchen. And so those love feelings manifest those things. Yes, they can be made and brought to you as well, but you can find rocks. You can find things on the ground that are heart shaped. You can see heart shaped clouds. Hearts are everywhere.
How do you know how to separate those experiences from what the scientists like to use the word, I think it's apophenia, where you find signs and symbols and everything and they think it's like a psychological thing. How do you yourself separate the two?
I don't separate anything much. I
You
take
just
it
keep it all together,
I
huh?
take it all as it comes. And for people to say that, what in the world are the letters in the alphabet?
Right,
They are symbols. Each one of those is a symbol for something.
right.
And someone came up with that. There are all kinds of symbols around. I fully believe in sacred geometry
I do
and
too.
how that symbols and things do teach us things. Light language can be in symbols and is written in symbols, but I have also had it here written with grasses and string and sticks and things put together
Copyright.
that are light language. When you see them, I know immediately that's not just glyphs or stick writing. That's light language. It comes in the fire. I have photos of light language symbols written across the fire. So they're everywhere.
Well, you know what's crazy? A lot of the things that, when we're talking about the codes, I have always my entire life, I call it doodle.
Mhm.
But the more and more I'm more aware of these things, the more I'm realizing maybe it's not just doodling after all.
Yeah.
Maybe I myself am doing something. I'm just not aware of what I'm doing. Could that be possible?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of people that start out, I have a very good friend, Wendy, who has written light language for years and years and years and years and speaks it. And she started out doing this and she had no clue, what am I doing here? And as she got into it, she began to understand this is a language. This is a light language. This is a heart language that comes from that light that you are, that infinite light that each person is. It connects to that. And so I believe a lot of people are doing that and bringing that, and it's coming. And in doodling, um, feelings change
They do.
as you do this.
They sure
So
do.
that has to say something to you
It does.
about, whoa, I doodle this and I feel this. So maybe that's showing me in physical form on this piece of paper that feeling.
A lot of the things that I'm mostly aware of with the story is, I have Wiccans and I have Christians and I have open-minded people and I have so many different people. And, to the T, people will, manifest around the moon and you're supposed to burn this. And then when you're done burning it, you discard this and that. I don't have a set of rules, Arla. I do what I feel is right with my heart being led, even if someone says, well, now you've burnt that. You probably shouldn't do that. I still have to try to find my own way to, smile and nod and go on. But, I've noticed with the store, when I lead with my heart, it may not make sense to a lot of people, but it makes sense to me. Would you agree with that?
You're the only person that anything needs to make sense to.
I love that.
So we have to remember that this is a personal journey,
Right.
and that personal journey and how you live that factors into the collective consciousness of humanity as well.
Okay. And with our signs that we like to follow and look at, and their confirmations, obviously I live by my synchronicities. My
Mhm.
life is where it's at because I do now, obviously. So I know that I'm at the right place at the right time. Do you believe that some of these images or these synchronicities could be something that is given through a verbal conversation, and then you can depict and pick up in your mind and be used in the same aspect?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there are all kinds of ways of bringing about knowledge, wisdom, understanding. And, I have things I do as well that other people would say, oh, you can't do that. But I'm not ever going to tell anyone else what they can do or can't do within their personal being.
Right.
I'm just, it's not my place to do that.
Right.
This is a personal journey that affects the collective consciousness of humanity. So, as we live our lives and we learn to live them through the heart, that's what's going into the collective consciousness of humanity.
Now, what does the collective consciousness mean to you when you say it?
It is the understanding of humanity that we are all a part of each other. We are all one. We are individuals that within that collective consciousness, which is the consciousness of the world, we are connected into that. So if you want to say we are all puzzle pieces in this great big puzzle, and we all have a place and we all fit. And as we do that in our own personal learning and understanding, that affects every piece of that puzzle. No, your puzzle piece does not touch every other one, but
Okay.
it touches the ones next to you. And when they touch someone outside of them, that's still a part of you that is affecting all of that.
That's beautiful, Arla. I'm so happy you were on here today. And I'd love to be able to do this with you again in the future. It doesn't even have to be the same subject. It could just be something you're into. What is you seem like a busybody. I admire this about you.
Yeah,
Always traveling.
yeah. I've got a lot of things going. I also channel. I didn't even talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
now what is channeling now?
Well, channeling is where an entity, if you want to call it that, speaks through you. Do you know who Bashar is? Everybody seems to know Bashar. Uh,
Ish. A little bit.
okay,
Nothing more lightly.
okay. So
Bashar.
I don't really know Bashar. I've listened to I think a couple of things Bashar did, but channeling the ancestor grandmothers who are infinite, ancient. You could call them guides, but they're more than that for me, and they speak their wisdom through me. It's like being a medium and listening to uh, someone talking to you and you bringing that forward.
I totally believe in channeling, and I'm quite positive I have met several channelers in my life.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I do have one selfish question before we leave here, and this is my selfish question. And I'm kind of picking up my breadcrumbs here. So this is if this is actually not something that you're able to help me answer or, steer me in the direction, then, I understand. I had told you earlier, I had a vendor who is no longer with me that was let's see, is it the light language? She could speak in light language, and she also works directly with the fairy and the fae.
Mhm.
And the one of the things that she did was she started to speak to me in what I considered tongue, but now I know the word is light language through you today. So thank you for enlightening me. She let me know that through spirit, I was gifted um a pink diamond, and she said it was placed above my heart and that it needed to be activated. Does something like that is that something that I need to figure out myself, or is that something within the things that you have knowledge through, like shapes and symbols and colors and stuff that you could maybe educate her and enlighten me on? As I'm pretty much at a forklift on this. I'm not real sure where I go with this, how to activate it, if it's really there. I felt what she was saying and I accepted it and I acknowledged it, but now I'm not quite sure what to do with this gift that I was gifted.
Well, you can look at a message like that logically. You can look at the pink stone. Okay, what kind of stone was this? It was pink. There are different stones that are pink. And so you stop and, okay, there, that symbology of that stone being placed over my heart says that that stone is going to have the energy that helps my heart and helps me to open and connect with that heart even more. And I mean, you have a perfect stone lady there.
I do. She's funny enough, she's coming up. She's next Sunday's guest speaker. So
Oh,
I'm not
awesome.
I mean, I'm not even surprised you just brought her up. That is because we really do have an awesome stone person, and she's so wonderful with what she does over there.
Yeah, she is.
Sherry,
So
we're talking about you.
I would talk with her about stones.
Okay.
You know, we think a lot of times that when we're given a message, oh, that message is going to come from here. And sometimes it comes from looking at it logically
Okay.
because the logical leads you to a space that many would say is illogical.
Right.
But the easiest way is to look at it. Okay, these are symbols. This stone is a symbol that's on my heart. So, what is it about my heart that this stone would help? And so, when you find that stone, you will know immediately that that is the stone that was there.
Well, I felt something in our moment I couldn't dismiss, and it was it was very beautiful to say the least, and I it was definitely not I was actually not even having a good day that day. I was in such a rush that whole day, which because I'm so busy all the time, I'm constantly trying to tell myself to slow down and, inhale and breathe. So when she came in, I wasn't quite prepared for it. And then when she started to speak in the light language, and then of course this diamond, this it's diamond type thing that she talked about, and I was gifted. I heard her that day, and I was in my moment, and then I've gotten home, and I'm like, what is all that? And I have kind of looked down the rabbit hole, but I don't feel very connected to a lot of it. So I keep thinking maybe this is something that I need to understand inwardly, and maybe through time it'll just kind of reveal itself. But I always tend to kind of ask people from time to time, what their insight was on what that experience was for me.
So, yeah, I could say the thing that most people say, you'll know when you need to know.
And that's exactly how I'm thinking about it, to be completely honest with you, Arla. I feel when the time comes, and I actually spoke to my daughter about it, and she said, "Mom, you better wait before you activate that." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because there ain't no stopping once you do."
Yeah,
So
and
pretty much you need to be
when you're
prepared.
dealing with the heart, that's such an important thing. And yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us. And just know that this was our very first video live. So I appreciate you getting to, help me kind of get on my toes and pull myself out of my comfort zone with this, because I don't know that I would have.
Yeah. How can people watch the live as it's going? How
They
are
sh-
you putting that out?
it should be on right now. We only had a couple of people tonight, but my aunt, now I don't think that Frederick was able to give us a message thing. Did that just never happen?
What are you asking?
I never saw the message side.
The comments from
Yeah, I
YouTube?
never saw the comments, but it
Yeah.
should be it's on right now as we speak.
Yeah, the comments are they're on
Okay.
the actual stream. I think it's just not turned on the iPad over there. It could be a
Oh.
little button to the left or right or what
Okay.
have you.
Well, I know that right now, as we've been recording, it's on the YouTube live now, because the Facebook, I've pretty much centered this around a separateness than my Facebook, because I had just created it. You have to have 100 followers before you go live. So once we get off here, what I like to do is I just go ahead and I upload it to the Facebook, I upload it to the Mystique Emporium, and then it's, as soon as we get off here and as we speak, it's already on YouTube. And then I usually make some shorts that kind of reel people in. So it says, "Oh, you don't have time to watch or listen to this, but you could follow the shorts here." And then when you
Yeah.
decide you got a long drive ahead of yourself, you might just pop it on and listen.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be advertised in the group Mystique Emporium.
It'll be advertised in the Mystique Emporium. It'll be advertised on this platform and the show, and then it'll be on my personal, and then also on YouTube right now.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
live broadcast on YouTube. If you're a member of the channel, it will just pop up on your feed that it's live. You can click in at any point.
But we can
And it
also
is
share
live.
it to you too.
Yes, it
Okay.
can be shared.
If you would,
If I can get the link, then I can put it like on my YouTube
absolutely.
page in a short or in a post.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do a lot of that too.
So do you regularly get on your YouTube with lives like this? Or do
I
you just
have not done live on my YouTube as of yet. I usually just do my videos and download them.
okay.
I have done YouTube live a lot with other podcasts that I was helping to co-host
Okay.
with. So
Well, I definitely will make sure to send you the link once we get off here, but then you also know that you'll have a couple of other ways to find it as well.
okay,
And then I do appreciate you giving me your time this evening.
you are welcome. I've
Attend-
enjoyed it.
I have too. I didn't. I'm sorry that Miss Tanisha left us. I'm sure she had so many questions, but we know where to find you, and I'm sure
Yes, you
I'm sure you
do.
have all your information on there. If people do have questions that didn't get to make any phone calls this evening.
Yeah, I'm actually, one of my Zoom workshops starts the 27th, and there'll be 3 of them on consecutive Mondays, and it's Let's Talk About the Sasquatch.
Now, with your Zoom workshops, are these something we can listen to for free?
Now, most of my particular workshops, there is a cost in it,
Okay.
but for 3 of this series of Let's Talk About Sasquatch, you get all 3 for $20.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
it's not like it's an expensive thing to do.
Right. That's exactly what I always tell everybody in the store when they're making things or putting things out. I'm like, if someone only had $20, it's expending here. Think like that, because
Yeah.
people can't really afford anything over
Yeah.
$20 nowadays. So, now when you're doing when you're advertising your own self, are you networking off of your own Facebook, off Arla Colette Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that I'm just kind of sticking in your algorithm, and I'll just keep sharing it and supporting it because I love everything you do and I absolutely enjoyed everything this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping us co-host.
It was awesome. I had such a good time.
Thank you, Arla. Have a good night. And please tell your husband I said hi.
I will.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm not very good at zippers. But maybe if I had some help.
I'll help you.
I am an expert.